I just knew this Christmas sled from Dollar Tree would be the perfect background for this Winter Wonderland printable I got from Hammons Nest. I took off that string hanger on top and set it aside, and then I'm going to use some of this Snow White chalk paint to just paint on a thin layer on the printed part of this sled, just to make sure that nothing peeks through once I get my paper Mod Podged on. And then I did decide to use some of this truffle chalk paint to repaint those wooden rails for the sled. I know they're already brown, but I wanted a darker brown that would match my printable. And also paint just looks prettier than that paper they stick on there. And I also painted the back so it would have a nice finish on the back. Then I took some of this mineral color chalk paint to dry brush on those sled rails as well, just to give it a little bit more interest, and so it just wouldn't be so flat looking. I also think that it will match my printable a little better too, to add in that extra color. Now it's ready for some Mod Podge, and then I'm going to lay my paper on top. And I like to give my papers little spritz of water because as it dries, I just feel like it shrinks up and kind of helps hide some of those wrinkles or take away some of the wrinkles. Then I'm using my X-Acto knife here to go ahead and cut away the extra. And I went ahead and printed out two, and I'm going to add a small top piece of that paper to the top of my sled to carry over that wood look as well. And then I'm just kind of repeating the same process, just cutting that extra away. And once I get the excess cut off, I'm going to take my mini sander and go around the edges to just smooth them out a little bit more. And you always want to make sure whenever you are doing decoupage that you just rub from the top down. You never want to go back and forth. And then here I'm just using a regular nail file to get into some of those smaller places. Then I'm going to take this brown Stays On ink pad and start working around the edges and in the corners just to kind of give them some definition, give them that nice outline and shading and make them stand out. And once I go around my whole project, then I'm going to use this little blending brush to kind of carry that over a little bit more in the corners and around those edges to make it look just nice and aged and weathered. And you can just see what a nice difference it makes here. Just a little extra detail that you can add. So then I'm ready for a top layer of Mod Podge. I'm just kind of working from the center to the edges. And you do want to make sure that ink is good and dry before you add that Mod Podge so that it doesn't smear. Now I'm going to start prepping my pieces for my bow. I'm going to use some antiquing wax to brush over some of these cedar branches because I want them to have a darker look for my project. And this wax is just kind of a nice way to take away some of that plasticky look. And this is some webbed ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cut a few 6-inch pieces and use that ink pad to distress those as well. For my bow, I decided to use this dark brown kind of faded material, and it's a green and tan plaid. And then also add in some of this lighter neutral striped material to brighten it up a little and bring in that white from the printable. Then I just start layering it on my Bodabra. I put a couple pieces of that webbed ribbon down, and then some of the green and plaid fabric, and then I'm going to stick stick those branches in there, and then just keep layering, kind of looping that material back and forth on top of that. I added in the light color next, and then the darker brown on top. And I'm just going to kind of keep repeating that process with the green and the lighter color and then the dark brown. And I've gotten a few comments about why I use so many layers, or they think that it's too many layers, but I personally just like a full bow. And so even if you can't see all of the bottom layers, if you don't add them in, it's just kind of flat. But definitely just experiment for yourself and see kind of how you like yours best. And you can see there, I kind of had forgot to add in some more of that webbing. That's what's great about the Bodabra. I just picked up the layers that I wanted to move aside and put that missing piece in there. Then I just cinched up my string, flipped it around the back and tied a knot. And now I'm fluffing up my pieces, spreading them out. It's also a time where you can adjust your loops if you needed some bigger or smaller, or trim your ends too. And then I'm going to take my staple gun and staple the bottom layers on each side of the bow to make sure that it's nice and secure. Then I'm going to take a small piece of that greenery and glue it to the center of my bow. And then I'm going to add some of these kind of darker maroon colored berries right in the middle there. Now you could stop here, but I kind of feel like it needed something a little bit more. So I've got this snowflake ornament I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just heating up that glue and peeling off what came on it, and then giving it just kind of a messy coating of some of that white chalk paint. And I am painting the front and the back side here. Then I'm going to take that ink pad that I used earlier and go around the edges to start kind of distressing it some and tying it into the rest of my piece. I'm using my blending brush to smear that ink along the edges of that snowflake. And then I decided to use some of this walnut stain distressing ink just to add another color. It just gives a little extra dimension to the piece. And I'm going to take some of these stamps that I got from Dollar General, and I'm going to stamp on the words, "Let It Snow," right in the center of that snowflake. And I really just feel like those ink colors are going to draw up the colors from my printable into that bow. To attach it, I'm going to add a little jute string and then just kind of hot glue it into the middle of those layers of my bow so that it can hang down from the side a little bit. And then I decided here that I kind of wanted to add in a little bit of that snow effect from the printable. So I took some baking soda and mixed it with white paint. And then I'm going to just start kind of adding it on to the edges of my piece. It looks like I did not hit the record button, but you can see there where I added it onto the edges of the sled and the rails. And then I'm just adding it into those, the greenery in my bow and those berries. It just really adds kind of a nice 3D effect. And then I'm going to go take some of that snow and add it into those trees on the printable. And that's just going to draw them out and give them a little 3D look too. It's just kind of a simple detail that makes it look nice. And then I'm going to add the string that came on it to begin with as my hanger. And it's all finished. I think the little tag was a super cute touch to the bow, and it all just looks really nice and wintry. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a bit and watching me make this cute winter piece, and I hope it inspired you to get a little crafty. Have a blessed day.